Howdy. I'm walking in my own backyard because I wanted to be outside when I did this. It's a couple of days after September 11th. Actually, I'm shooting this on September 11th. And that means it's the 17th anniversary of the planes going into the Twin Towers in New York City and becoming the worst day in American history. That sounds a little strange when you say something like that, but here's part of the reality, the reason I'm saying it. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, most people had no idea what Pearl Harbor was. They didn't know what Hawaii was. They heard the Japanese attacked, but they didn't know what it meant. They had no clue. They didn't see it on TV. They heard it on the radio, most of them the next day. So it didn't really mean a lot to them until a couple of days later when the anger started. But not that same day, when the Civil War began, which really was the worst thing in history for America. No one really knew it. It was basically in one place. It took some people weeks before they knew that there was some kind of war. And even when they knew about it, they didn't do anything about it because it didn't impact them. So they really didn't know. It was horrible. It lasted a long time, but it wasn't September 11th. But I look at September 11th in two different ways. One way, a lot of people are going to agree with me, and another way, they're not, unless they think about it seriously. So I decided to do it today. So this is not about blogging. This is not about leadership. This is a story about us, people in America, our history, and our current way of things. September 11th, worst day in our history because we all knew about it almost immediately. I basically found out about it just before the second plane hit. I woke up early that day, which was rare for me. And my mother called and she said, a plane just hit one of the World Trade Center towers. And I turned on the TV and I see a plane hitting a tower. I said, oh, they're re-showing it. She says, no, that's a different plane. And on that day, we knew everything had changed. And it was a horrific day. The Twin Towers came down. A lot of people died. It was just horrific. Worst day. But you know what's strange about it? It was also the last real good day that America had. And that's a strange thing to say, but here's my point. On that day, those of us who were not in New York City were horrified by what we saw, and we were watching the TV and we were just in shock. I almost hopped in my car and drove to New York City until they started asking people not to do it. 5.5 hours. I knew a little bit about healthcare. I'd worked in healthcare. I thought maybe there was something I could do. Probably wouldn't have been anything I could have done, but I just felt like I needed to go and help. My wife was working at the VA hospital. They were on alert. Everyone was on alert. No one really knew what was going to happen, but I didn't go. And it was horrible. And yet, it was the last time that everybody in America, from New York to California, Texas to Michigan, everyone was watching the same thing, and everyone felt it. Everyone came together in support of America on that day. There were a lot of amazing things that happened on that day. And that's what made it partially a good day. But it was the last good day. Why? Because the very next day we started hearing about a lot of bad things that were happening. There were a lot of people who were attacking Muslims. There were a lot of people attacking Sikhs because it turns out, I'd never thought about it till that day, there's a lot of people who have no idea that Sikhs aren't Muslims. They didn't know what a Muslim looked like. I could have told them that the people you think look like Muslims don't look like what you think they do. Some do, but most of them don't. So that was ugly. Started hearing some of the worst insults, language, and everything. It got really bad. People were burning mosques. People were out for blood. But it was the last time that this country actually came together for something. It didn't happen again. It didn't happen with Afghanistan. Sure, there were a lot of us who wanted to go and get some of those people because we knew that's where they were, but everyone didn't want to do it. It's a totally different atmosphere. And things got worse from there. They just did. Everything started to fracture on September 11th. The last good day on a horrific day that America had. I mean, think of it this way. We invaded Iraq, we invaded Iraq, and it was split. And it turned out the information we had to attack was bad. We probably shouldn't have done it, but we did. Got rid of Saddam. Didn't mind that. But look what we've gotten ourselves into. Look at Afghanistan. We're still there. We're still in Afghanistan. 17 years later, we still have that issue. We still have issues with Iran. We have issues with Pakistan. We have issues with, well, now, China. It was a bad day. We had people in America who were saying things about the president at that time. And some of it might have been true, but it was pretty bad. There was just no unity. It was all over. In 2008, when Obama won, there were a lot of people happy about it, but he only won with 54% of the vote, which means there were a lot of people angry about it. This is just how it is. America has not come back together since September 11th, 2001. And we were in a bad place before then. Think about it. We were in a really bad place before then. I mean, we actually had a court case trying to decide if the guy who won, Bush, actually won. Think about that one for a minute. It was just fractured. We were in a bad place. September 11th came, people came together. Then the next day, it just all fell apart. So it's an interesting way of looking at things. That's how I'm doing it as I walk around my backyard. I'd like to know your opinion on that. Has America actually had a good day since September 11th, where we saw a lot of acts of heroism? We saw a lot of people do some things that were just remarkable for other people. I mean, goodness. I worked in New York City for a period of time, and I would not go to the grounds where the Twin Towers fell. Just couldn't do it. One of these days I might. It still feels strong even after 17 years. I got lucky in the fact that I didn't know anyone who died, but I know some people who knew people who died. And you know what? You can't take away how bad it was, but you also can't take away how people came together to do the right thing and care for each other. But it's the last time it happened. That's my thought. What's your thought? Y'all let me know. Like I said, this should be interesting. Take care.